Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, I'm Jen. I've lost over 90 pounds on a GLP1, and I'm all about showing you, I think, how to build a lifestyle around your goals, not just like diet. And I am in the infancy stages of my Finish 2025 Strong program. So if you haven't checked out that video where I talked about how I want to finish 2025 Strong, I'll link it below, all my goals that I have till the end of the year. And also if you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. But today we're gonna do a little something different. I touched a little bit on this on the last video, but I think it's something that can really change the way that not only you, but me, we meal plan or organize our meals or organize our life around what we're eating. But I wanna show you how I used ChatGPT, yes, a little bit of AI to create, I did a 6-day high protein meal plan. I've used it off and on when I lost 8 pounds last month. And don't worry, this is not complicated at all. This is probably one of the easiest ways for you to meal plan and meal just organize. You could do it from your phone, your iPad, while you're sitting back watching Hallmark Christmas. It's that time of year again. And yes, it's never too early for me to watch Christmas movies, no judgment. If you want to, I can handle it. But I wanted to look at ChatGPT about my calories, my favorite foods, my protein goals, and just ask it a bunch of things around 6 days, not 7. I'm not using it really as a macro calculator, no spreadsheets, no Pinterest. I'm not gonna go down rabbit holes of these grand plans. But for me, I feel sometimes on a Sunday, I've gone food shopping. I think I know what I want. And I'm like, God, I don't feel like organizing or tracking every little thing. Let me give this a go. Let me see what ChatGPT can bring to my life. Could it be my new meal planning bestie? And I think when you think about meal planning, I think it's tedious. I think it could be one of the hardest parts of a weight loss journey. I do think it's very important to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're gonna ultimately, I think, fail, especially when you're taking Zepbound or Mounjaro or a GLP1 for weight loss, because your appetite's a little bit lower. You don't have the hunger cues. We don't eat as much every meal. And I think getting the right amount of calories in and protein is extremely important. And I know for me, if I don't plan, I snack all day on random things. Next thing you know, I don't hit my protein goal. And then I'm wondering why I'm tired or have these cravings or just slow progress as a whole. So I felt like a few weeks ago, I thought, let me talk to ChatGPT. I call him Chatty, because I use them all day long for work. I was like, what else can I use this for in my personal life? And I was really shocked at how easy it was to use. And what I did is I wanted to give it details, like what are my calorie goals, protein goals, what foods I had on hand. And next thing you know, it built me a plan within seconds. I didn't have to think much about it other than a couple little things to prompt it. It is such a powerful tool. I think you just have to make sure you're asking it the right questions. So here's exactly what I typed into ChatGPT. I said, create a 6-day meal plan under 1,500 calories, high in protein. I said around 140 grams, no protein powder, but I would like to have one Fairlife chocolate shake per day. I love to have chicken, shrimp, steak, and pork chops for dinner. I have avocados on hand along with hummus. And then from there, I wanted to say, let me give it a little more specifics of really what I was craving or feeling for the week so that we can cater it a little bit to me, and get the right portions for, say, breakfast, lunch, my snack. And then I was like, leave me around 400 to 500 calories for dinner. You're just prompting it and you're eventually going to get what you want. So I was like, one Fairlife protein shake, coffee smoothie. I had Faye Greek bowl, honey with it, and granola. And then I was like, with lunch, let's be a little more specific. I was like, I have organic oven roasted turkey. I have sourdough bread. I have some Wegmans provolone. I have cucumbers and red peppers. And if I can fit it in, a cup of Wegmans organic bone broth. and my snack is pistachios. So like you go from a generic to a little bit more specific, more information about things that, you know what I have on hand, so that it can give me better portions and calorie breakdowns. And I don't think you have to be like super fancy with your keywords. I think you just have to be very specific, and you could just keep layering on. You don't have to get it all right in one prompt, but maybe you want to be a little more generic with what you're craving, and maybe a little less on like very specific foods. Whereas I wanted to be a little more specific with the foods I had on hand because I already food shopped. But you don't have to necessarily go specific to every little breakdown they give you. But I love how like it gave me this perfect structured plan for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, portions, just so I could see like how can I stay under 15 calories but also still hit, say, 140 grams of protein, because we talk about how like, oh, it's so hard for me to have 100 grams of protein a day. But I love to see how it's broken out in the portions, and I don't have to do any of the math or like that heavy, boring stuff. And like I said before, you also can get a very like generic plan if that's what you want. But I wanted to use some exact foods. Like I use specific brands like, Fairlife protein shakes in the Faye Greek yogurt, or, the specific type of hummus that I like. And after a while, it just starts to get to know you. I know that sounds a little creepy, but I actually did this after I went food shopping. I would probably recommend like doing it before you go food shopping. But for me, I was just kind of playing around a little bit. And I was like, well, if I wanted to wait, it would give me a full shopping list, which is so much fun. But let's go through like what my plan actually looked like for the day. So I mentioned a little bit about this, but like breakfast, I had a Fairlife chocolate shake, decaf coffee with some collagen peptides. I had a bowl of Faye Greek yogurt with a little bit of drizzle of honey and some Purely Elizabeth granola. I think it's just, such a quick, high protein, gives me everything I want, and also satisfies a little bit of that sweet craving that I have in the morning. And it keeps me in check because I know that I can be a little bit heavy-handed with granola. Those calories add up. And then lunch, I said, like, it gave me like the one slice of homemade sourdough, turkey provolone with a side of like cucumbers and peppers, and then also was able to fit in my cup of bone broth, which like always gives me such good extra protein, and it's cold right now, so I love a little warmth. And I was craving like a deli sandwich, so why not make it myself with the really good ingredients? And then, how many pistachios I can fit in for the day, so that I'm not all of a sudden just doing a massive handful, and I'm then, now I'm like grazing throughout the day for other things. But because like dinners, I like to rotate proteins, I knew I just wanted to ask it specific things. Like I had some, fresh chicken tenders, I had some shrimp steak and pork chops on hand. And I was like, I also had, some jasmine rice, and I picked up some sweet potatoes. In the freezer, I had some frozen broccoli and green beans. So I was like, let's make something with all of those things, and let's take that mental load off of me and just say like, pick one for each night. Could be steak with jasmine rice and green beans, but kind of fit it into my macros. And I loved like just being able to see everything I can get, like I said before, for 1,500 calories and 140 grams of protein, which for me is that perfect combo. I'm not trying to be perfect every day, but I am looking to maintain muscle. But also one really cool thing about Chatty, as I said, it can build that, grocery list for you, and it can categorize everything. So like if you look at everything that I asked, it can break it down by like my protein, my carbs, my veggies, and extras. And it breaks your list down for you. So like for me, it said like proteins, let's pretend I had nothing on hand. It said chicken tenders, shrimp, go get a sirloin steak and a pork chop, go get deli turkey, Fairlife shakes, Greek yogurts. Then carbs, it's like get your sourdough bread, your jasmine rice, your sweet potatoes, your granola, and your honey. So now I've seen my carbs. Now I've seen, my proteins, and then like avocado, pistachios, hummus, olive oil, they all fall in the fat range. And then I always like to have the veggies separate, which was broccoli, green beans, bell peppers, cucumbers. So now I'm seeing how everything is kind of like broken out in like my meal plan. And then also, you can see what you have on hand as well. I get that. That's kind of what I go for. But like, I love how it's like simple whole foods, and it's nothing fancy. And most of what I could do can be, some of it can be prepped in under an hour. And I don't think this is like a one and done plan. And I can't do one and done plans. I'm a very simple, repetitive meal person, but I do like to have some variations of things every once in a while. But you can keep that prompt and just every week keep adding to it so that it gets to know you. And even if you start a new prompt and if you're logged in, it'll still get to know you. But sometimes I might say, you know what? Instead of shrimp, I want to have ground turkey. In place of this, I want to have that. And it just kind of can keep going with what you're looking for. And then also I love to use it when I'm traveling. I use it a little bit at the beach so that I could get a little bit more of a better understanding. Because like the dinners were my wild card. I was on vacation, but I kind of was like, what if I want a little bit less for breakfast, lunch, and a snack? And it provided me a little bit of those things. And I think for me, somebody that's been on a GLP-1 for over 2 years, I think there's times where I just like to try to stay consistent without overcomplicating, the food and, real structure. I like some flexibility here and there. And I think like with GLP-1s, we don't need as much food as we think we need because like our hunger cues are a little bit, kind of quieted. But I know like protein is that foundation because it keeps me full, preserves my muscle, supports my metabolism. So I always make that a little bit more of an emphasis. But I think by using ChatGPT, I have been able to make sure I'm hitting my protein target every day without really having to like track. I don't have to go and put in MyFitnessPal or Lose It app or anything like that. It's like just having a plan. Sometimes I'll weigh a couple things here and there, but it's like I know if I'm following it, I don't have to worry about anything else. And also I wanted to create the 6-day high protein, 1500 calorie, 140 grams, because I like to leave that like one day open if I'm heading out with friends, but I still will be mindful of what I'm eating. I just wish I would have used this a little bit sooner because I think it does take that guesswork out of, trying to eat healthy and staying consistent. If you have a family or you're busy, this is a great way for something else to help structure. Like, for example, I'm heading into this week and I knew I was making a crock pot beef stew. So I had ChatGPT take that into account because I was like, one dinner is going to be that, and then I'm going to make 2 lunches out of it. How can I restructure my 6-day plan to incorporate that recipe? And it's just areas like that I think are going to help me be able to finish, 2025 strong. And that's also why when you look at my goals that I created for, the next 60 plus days, I left nutrition out of it because Chatty, as I call it, ChatGPT, is going to handle all of that for me. Yes, it's my work. I have to follow it. And I'm going to follow it as close as I can. But like my goal is to just let that happen. Let my food choices happen. Let ChatGPT do all the work while I focus on the things that I want to focus on, from strength training and movement and hydration and sleep and keeping the stress down. But I've also started dabbling with it, and comment below if you want me to do a video on it. But catering some of my superset workouts and building some of my habits around it. But I've really been just like shocked at how like you just don't want to take it for its surface. You don't just want to say, give me a 7-day meal plan, and then you get it and then you're like, well, I don't like salmon. Well, I don't want eggs. I don't want this. Well, keep in mind, you can start with a generic and then keep building around it and say, hey, replace this with that. And it will start shifting everything around, taking a little bit less maybe from your breakfast or lunch because you've shifted something around at dinner. You can even be more specific with your macros. If you're somebody that knows that you have to have X amount of grams of protein and fat and carbs, you can have it structured that way for you. And I've had moments where I've just gone into ChatGPT and said, I also added in this because I didn't feel like logging in MyFitnessPal or Lose It. I was like, I followed your plan, but I also had a barbell on this particular day. How many extra calories and protein did that give me? And it gives me just a visual. And so that I can just go off of those cues and just kind of learn as I go and don't feel overwhelmed. I just love building and building upon, all the different habits that I've learned up to this point. But I am a huge fan of technology, of gadgets, of anything that syncs to an app, anything that can make my life easier. I am all for it. I don't have to sit down and now write down everything I'm just typing it in as I'm relaxing, and it's just giving me the prompts I need, and you just layer on, and I love it. I cannot talk any more about it. I know you probably have heard other people talk about ChatGPT. If you haven't used it, I'll put a link. It's free. I mean, yes, you can get a subscription. The free is good enough. The free is good enough for exactly what you need it to do with their algorithms. But if you haven't tried it, definitely try it. And you might find other areas where you may want to ask it some more questions. I have asked it a couple different questions about things for my dog. I don't want to go off on a separate tangent. We're talking about meal planning here. But I would just say, like, I'm feeding my dog this, and it's, this was her allergy tests. Can you make sure nothing's, counteracting each other? Like, I just have fun with it. And like I said, I use it for work. But if you have any questions about how I use it, the prompts that, you may want to have, just some more explanations on, comment below. I love using it. If you have used it, comment below how you use ChatGPT on your GLP-1 weight loss journey as well. Like, are you asking it prompts for, giving you shopping lists or meal planning, or, helping you find that perfect recipe using some better whole clean ingredients? I've done that too. I want to hear it below. But if you did enjoy today's video, if you could please just take a second, hit that like button. And if you haven't, subscribe, because not only am I doing videos on specific GLP-1 topics and things that I'm learning, but as I said before, I think it's 64 days now left in the year as I'm recording this, and I'm in my finished 2025 strong plan. It's not a challenge. It's nothing super crazy. I love everything. I mean, I'm literally on day 3 of it, and it has really just quieted everything around me. And I know that I'm not in that craziness yet of Thanksgiving and Christmas, the holiday season, but I just feel like having a nice little structure around me to know what I need to do over there in terms of movement and strength training and hydration and sleep and all those goals, that over on the other side, I can keep expanding on things with ChatGPT to ultimately help me build a little bit of a better relationship with food and just be a little bit more visual and understanding of things, and to just not always be somebody that needs to weigh and track every little thing I do. I'm gonna have a little balance of both. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it, but I will catch you in my next video. Bye.